Hey everyone, welcome back. We're doing a deep dive today into something that might have crossed your mind, especially if you're thinking about your family's future
Hmm.
and how to maybe make things a little easier on everyone tax-wise.
Right.
We're talking about gold IRAs
Yes.
and specifically how they might help you minimize those tax bills,
Yeah.
both now and down the road
Uh-huh.
when it comes to inheritance.
Okay.
I found this piece about gold IRA strategies for tax optimization, and some of the stuff in here is pretty eye-opening.
Interesting.
Like, did you know that holding gold in an IRA could potentially help your heirs avoid going through probate?
That's one of the interesting things about gold IRAs. They often get overlooked. But
Right.
when you start thinking about long-term financial planning
Right.
and how your assets will eventually pass on,
hmm
they offer some unique advantages.
Okay, so before we get into all the tax benefits, let's take a
Definitive.
step back for someone who's maybe hearing about this for the first time.
Okay.
What exactly is a gold IRA?
Essentially, it's a self-directed IRA, which
Okay.
gives you more control over your investments.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of holding the usual stocks and bonds,
Yeah.
you're holding physical precious metals, gold, silver, platinum, palladium.
Wow.
It's a way to diversify your retirement portfolio and potentially protect yourself against inflation,
Yeah.
something that's definitely on a lot of people's minds these days.
Yeah, with inflation the way it is, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But I'm also interested in those tax advantages you mentioned.
Hmm.
Everyone loves a good tax break,
Of course.
right? So what makes gold IRAs so special in that regard?
Well, you get the usual tax-deferred growth that you'd expect with a traditional IRA,
Right.
but there's also the option to go the Roth route,
Okay.
which means tax-free growth and tax-free withdrawals.
Hold on. Tax-free withdrawals.
Yes.
That's something I need to hear more about.
Okay.
Isn't that kind of unusual for a retirement account?
It is, and it's one of the big appeals of a Roth Gold IRA. You contribute after tax dollars, so you're not getting that immediate deduction like you would with a traditional IRA.
Right.
But then all those gains you accumulate over the years,
Yeah.
they grow tax-free, and when you start taking withdrawals in retirement,
Right.
they're tax-free too. It's like a
Yeah.
long-term tax shelter.
Wow.
That can be incredibly powerful, especially if you're thinking about passing on wealth to your heirs.
So if I'm understanding this right, you're saying a Roth Gold IRA could be a way to leave a legacy for my kids
Mm-hmm.
without them getting hit with a massive tax bill.
Potentially, yes.
That sounds almost too good to be true.
It's certainly a compelling strategy, especially for people in higher income brackets
Right.
who are concerned about estate taxes.
Okay.
And remember that probate issue we talked about earlier?
Yeah.
That applies here too.
Okay.
The gold held within a gold IRA, regardless of whether it's traditional or Roth,
Mm-hmm.
avoids probate, which can save your beneficiaries a lot of time, hassle, and legal fees.
Okay, you've definitely piqued my interest.
Great.
But I have to ask, with all these potential benefits, are there any downsides
Mm-hmm.
or things to be cautious about? There's always a catch, right?
Of course, no investment is without risk, and gold is no exception.
Oh, Cliff.
Gold prices can fluctuate, just like any other asset.
Yeah.
So it's important to have realistic expectations.
Right.
Historically, gold has held its value well,
Right.
especially during times of economic uncertainty.
Right.
But there's no guarantee that it will always go up.
So it's not a get-rich-quick
Mhm.
scheme.
Right.
You're not suggesting people go all in on gold.
Exactly. Diversification is key. It's about finding that balance in your portfolio.
Okay.
Now, another thing to keep in mind with traditional gold IRAs
Hmm.
is the same rule applies regarding required minimum distributions,
Yes.
or RMDs.
Right.
Just like with any traditional IRA,
Yeah.
you'll eventually have to start taking those distributions once you hit a certain age. And those withdrawals are taxed as ordinary income.
Right. The good old RMDs, I always forget about those.
Yeah.
Just to refresh my memory. What age do those kick in again?
As of now, it's 73.
Okay.
So let's say you have $500,000 in your traditional gold IRA when you turn 73.
Okay.
Based on the current IRS life expectancy tables,
Mm-hmm.
you'd be required to withdraw about $19,230 that first year,
Wow.
and you'd owe taxes on that amount.
Okay.
Of course, the exact figure can vary depending on your life expectancy and account balance.
Wow. That's a decent chunk of change.
Mm-hmm.
So if someone is trying to minimize their tax liability during retirement, it sounds like a Roth Gold IRA might be the smarter option since those withdrawals are tax-free.
That's a good point if you're anticipating being in a higher tax bracket in retirement,
Right.
or you want to maximize the amount you can pass on to your beneficiaries without a big tax hit.
Yeah.
The Roth definitely has its advantages.
This is a lot to digest. but it's incredibly helpful information. Now I'm starting to get a sense of why someone might choose a gold IRA.
Hmm.
But how do they actually go about setting one up?
Yeah.
It seems a little more complicated than just opening a regular brokerage account.
You're right. There are a few extra steps involved.
Okay.
The first thing you'll need is a custodian, a company that specializes in holding and managing precious metals for IRAs.
Okay.
There are a few reputable ones out there,
Mm-hmm.
but it's crucial to do your research and choose carefully.
Right.
After that, you'll need to fund your gold IRA.
Mm-hmm.
You can do this through a rollover from an existing IRA or 401k.
Okay.
Or you can make direct contributions.
Okay, so finding the right custodian is key.
Yes.
And then once you've funded the account,
Mm-hmm.
do you just pick the gold bars you want, like ordering from a menu?
Well, it's not quite that simple.
Okay.
You'll have to choose from a selection of IRS-approved gold, silver, platinum, or palladium products.
Mm-hmm.
These are typically bullion coins or bars
Okay.
that meet certain purity standards.
Right.
And, of course, you'll want to consider the premiums and fees
Yeah.
associated with buying and storing the precious metals.
I bet those fees can add up.
They can.
This is starting to feel like a real deep dive into the weeds.
A little bit, yeah.
So if someone is seriously considering a gold IRA,
Yeah.
what's the most important piece of advice you can give them?
I'd say the most crucial thing is to seek guidance from a qualified financial advisor
Mm-hmm.
who specializes in gold IRAs.
Okay.
They can assess your overall financial situation goals, risk tolerance, and time horizon
Right.
to determine if a gold IRA is a good fit for you.
Okay.
They can also help you navigate the complexities of choosing a custodian,
Right.
selecting the right precious metals,
Yeah.
and understanding the tax implications.
It sounds like having that expert in your corner is essential.
Definitely.
And it ties into a point that our research really emphasizes.
Mm-hmm.
Professional guidance is absolutely paramount
Yes.
when it comes to making informed decisions about your financial future. Right. Before we move on to the nitty-gritty of traditional versus Roth gold IRAs,
Sure.
let's take a closer look at this comparison table in our source material.
Okay.
It breaks down the key differences between traditional IRAs, gold IRAs, and Roth gold IRAs in a really clear way.
Yeah,
Yeah, this table is a great visual aid.
it is.
It lays out the tax treatment, RMD requirements, estate tax implication, and investment options for each type of IRA,
Right.
making it easier to grasp the distinctions.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, let's unpack these differences for our listeners.
Sure.
Starting with the tax treatment.
Right. As we've already touched upon, traditional IRAs and gold IRAs
Mm-hmm.
offer tax-deferred growth,
Okay.
while Roth gold IRAs provide tax-free growth and withdrawals.
Right.
This distinction is super important when considering long-term tax savings
Mm-hmm.
and the potential impact on your heirs.
Next on the list, we have those infamous required minimum distributions.
And here's where we see another significant difference. Both traditional IRAs and gold IRAs mandate those RMDs after age 73,
Right.
which, as we calculated earlier, can be a sizable amount.
Yeah.
Those withdrawals are taxed as ordinary income.
Mm-hmm.
However, Roth gold IRAs, well, they don't have RMDs during the original owner's lifetime.
Interesting.
And that means you retain more control over your money, potentially sidestepping a hefty tax burden in retirement.
Then there's the estate tax efficiency, which is a big consideration for folks who want to leave a legacy for their loved ones.
And this is where it gets particularly interesting.
Okay.
As we mentioned earlier, gold held within an IRA,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's traditional or Roth, bypasses probate.
Okay.
This means it goes directly to your beneficiaries,
Uh-huh.
avoiding a potentially lengthy and costly legal process.
Right.
But the Roth gold IRA takes it a step further.
Okay.
It passes to your heirs entirely tax-free.
Wow, that's a game changer.
It is.
Lastly, let's talk about investment options.
With a traditional IRA, you typically have a wider range of choices,
Mm-hmm.
including stocks, bonds, and mutual funds.
Okay.
Gold IRAs, however,
Yeah.
zero in on those physical precious metals, gold, silver, platinum, and palladium.
This table really clarifies those key differences.
It does.
So let's recap what we've covered so far.
We've learned that gold IRAs present a unique way to diversify your retirement portfolio with physical precious metals,
Okay.
potentially hedging against inflation and economic uncertainty.
Mm-hmm.
We've also explored the distinct tax advantages of both traditional and Roth gold IRAs,
Right.
with the traditional offering tax-deferred growth
Uh-huh.
and the right providing tax-free growth and withdrawals.
Right.
And finally, we've highlighted the estate planning benefits of gold IRAs,
Yeah.
especially their ability to bypass probate and potentially reduce estate tax exposure.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that's a lot to take in, but I think it's a good foundation
It is.
for understanding the basics
Okay, good.
of gold IRAs
Mm-hmm.
and how they might fit into a broader financial plan.
Yeah, this is great. I think this is a really good foundation to build on.
Okay, great. Yeah.
So,
Where do we go from here?
Yeah.
What do we look at next?
so next, I think we should dive a little deeper into estate planning
Okay.
because it seems like there's a lot to consider when you're dealing with assets like gold IRAs
Right.
that have specific tax rules.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. Estate planning is often overlooked.
It is.
But it's crucial, especially when you're talking about something like a gold IRA,
Mm-hmm.
which has these unique tax advantages that you want to preserve for your beneficiaries.
Exactly.
So what are some key things to keep in mind when it comes to estate planning and gold IRAs?
Yeah.
Where do you even begin?
The most fundamental thing is beneficiary designations.
Okay.
Who you name as the beneficiary of your gold IRA will have a huge impact on how those assets are distributed and taxed after you're gone.
Right.
It sounds simple, but it can get complicated quickly.
Okay. So let's say I want to keep things simple and just name my spouse as the beneficiary.
Is that usually the most tax-efficient option?
It can be, but it depends on a few factors.
Okay.
Like what type of gold IRA you have.
Right.
For example, with a traditional gold IRA,
Mm-hmm.
your spouse can usually roll it over into their own IRA
Okay.
and continue to benefit from tax-deferred growth.
And what about a Roth gold IRA? Does that work the same way?
With a Roth, the tax benefits are even more pronounced when it comes to spousal inheritance.
Okay.
Your spouse can inherit the Roth IRA
Mm-hmm.
and continue to enjoy those tax-free withdrawals just like you did.
Wow.
It's a great way to ensure that your hard-earned savings continue to grow tax-free for your loved ones.
That makes sense, but what if you want to leave your gold IRA to your children or someone other than your spouse? Does it get more complex?
It can, and that's where it's really important to consult with an estate planning attorney.
Okay.
They can help you structure your beneficiary designations
Mm-hmm.
to minimize potential tax liabilities for your heirs
Right.
and ensure that your wishes are carried out correctly.
So there might be different strategies
Yes.
depending on whether you're leaving a traditional gold IRA versus a Roth.
Exactly. For instance, with a traditional gold IRA, you might consider using a trust to hold the IRA.
Okay.
This can help protect the assets from creditors and potentially reduce the taxable value of your estate.
Okay, so you're throwing out the word trust here.
Yeah,
For those of us who aren't estate planning experts, can you break that down a bit?
sure. A trust is a legal entity
Okay.
that holds and manages assets for the benefit of your chosen beneficiaries.
Mm-hmm.
Think of it like a container for your assets
Okay.
with specific instructions on how they should be distributed and managed.
Right.
When you place a traditional gold IRA into a trust,
Uh-huh.
you can control how and when the assets are distributed to your heirs,
Okay.
which can be really helpful for tax planning purposes.
Right.
You can stretch out those tax-deferred benefits
Mhm.
and potentially lower the tax burden on your beneficiaries.
So it sounds like trust can be a powerful tool, especially for those with larger estates or complex family situations.
They can be.
Are there different types of trusts? How do you know which one is right for you?
There are many different types of trusts, each with its own nuances and purposes.
Okay.
Some common ones include revocable living trusts, irrevocable trusts, and charitable trusts.
Yeah.
Choosing the right type of trust depends on your individual circumstances,
Right.
goals, and the type of assets you're dealing with.
Yeah.
It's not a DIY project for sure.
Definitely not something you want to try to figure out on your own. It sounds like having an estate planning attorney on your team
Yes.
is just as important as having a financial advisor who specializes in gold IRAs.
Couldn't agree more. When dealing with gold IRAs, estate planning shouldn't be an afterthought.
Right.
It's vital to involve professionals,
Mm-hmm.
financial advisors, estate planning attorneys,
Yeah.
to make sure your gold IRA is woven into your overall estate plan.
Okay.
This ensures your assets are protected and distributed according to your wishes
Mm-hmm.
while minimizing the tax hit for both you and your loved ones.
It sounds like you can't just set up a gold IRA and forget about it.
Right.
You need a solid plan to maximize those benefits.
You do.
And that plan should include both financial and legal expertise.
Right, absolutely. That's a great point.
Okay.
Gold IRAs have these enticing tax and estate planning perks,
Right.
but they're not a set it and forget it type of investment.
Mhm.
You need a strategy.
Speaking of strategy, let's talk about the importance of professional advice.
Okay.
Our research keeps coming back to this idea that
Mm-hmm.
seeking expert guidance is crucial when it comes to gold IRAs.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that?
It boils down to a few key reasons.
Okay.
First, gold IRAs come with specialized rules and regulations that you might not be familiar with.
Right.
A financial advisor who focuses on gold IRAs can help you navigate all of that
Okay.
and make sure you're making informed decisions. They can also help you choose between a traditional or Roth Gold IRA, taking into account your financial goals, risk tolerance, and time horizon.
So you're not just randomly picking one or the other.
Yeah.
There's a real thought process behind that decision.
Absolutely. And then there's the whole estate planning side, which we just discussed.
Right.
Integrating a gold IRA into your overall estate plan is a critical step.
Okay.
And an estate planning attorney can help you structure those beneficiary designations,
Right.
set up trusts if needed,
Mm-hmm.
and ensure everything aligns with your legacy goals.
It seems like teamwork is the best approach.
Yes.
Having your financial advisor guide you on the gold IRA itself
Mm-hmm.
and your estate planning attorney making sure everything is buttoned up legally.
Exactly. It's about creating a comprehensive and tax-efficient plan with a team of experts,
Right.
protecting your assets and providing for your loved ones in the future.
Okay, let's say someone's listening to this and thinking, a gold IRA sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Where do I start? What's the first step they should take?
The first step is simple. Reach out to a reputable financial advisor
Okay.
who specializes in gold IRAs and estate planning.
Right.
They'll assess your financial situation,
Mhm.
talk about your goals,
Yeah.
and help you figure out if a gold IRA aligns with your overall investment strategy.
That sounds like a good plan of action.
Hey.
Now, as we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Okay.
I want to bring up one last takeaway from our research.
Okay.
It ties back to something we touched on earlier, diversification.
Yes. Diversification is the cornerstone of sound financial planning.
Right.
It's essential for managing risk and building a resilient portfolio.
Right. While gold IRAs can be a valuable tool for diversifying your retirement portfolio and potentially hedging against inflation,
Yeah,
they shouldn't be your only investment.
that's a crucial point.
Right.
Gold, like any other asset,
Yeah.
can experience price swings.
Right.
Maintaining a well-balanced portfolio with a mix of assets like stocks, bonds, real estate, and maybe even other alternative investments in addition to your gold IRA is key for long-term success.
So it's about spreading the risk and not putting all your eggs in one basket, so to speak.
Elsta.
Makes sense to me.
Good. Yeah.
I think we're just about out of time for this part of the deep dive,
Okay.
but we're going to pick right back up in part 2.
We will.
So stay tuned.
Sounds good.
So diversification is really important.
Yeah.
And I think this is a perfect note to end on as we wrap up this discussion of gold IRAs.
I agree. I think we've covered a lot of ground and provided a comprehensive understanding of gold IRAs.
Right.
The tax advantages and why strategic estate planning is so important.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into gold IRAs,
Yeah.
what's the one question our listeners should be asking themselves?
That's easy. After hearing about all the potential benefits, is a gold IRA something you should consider? It's not a yes or no answer for everyone.
Right.
Your personal situation, your goals, how much risk you're comfortable with. Right.
How long you have until retirement.
Mm-hmm.
All of that factors into whether a gold IRA is right for your investment plan.
That's a great question to consider. And like we've been saying throughout this whole deep dive,
Yeah.
you don't have to figure this out alone.
You don't.
Finding a financial advisor who really knows gold IRAs and estate planning
Right.
can make all the difference.
Couldn't agree more. Having that expert guidance can help you take advantage of the benefits
Yeah,
while navigating all the details of gold IRAs and the tax rules.
absolutely. Well, I think this has been a fantastic exploration of gold IRAs. Hopefully our listener found it insightful and maybe even a little surprising.
I agree. It's been a pleasure as always.
Yeah.
These financial topics are so important to understand, and I love unpacking them with you.
And to our listener, until next time, keep diving deep and keep learning. So diversification is really important.
It is, yeah.
And I think this is a perfect note to end on as we wrap up this discussion of gold IRAs. I agree. I think we've covered a lot of ground and provided a comprehensive understanding of gold IRAs, the tax advantages, and why strategic estate planning is so important.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into gold IRAs,
Yeah.
what's the one question our listeners should be asking themselves?
That's easy. After hearing about all the potential benefits, is a gold IRA something you should consider?
Mm.
It's not a yes or no answer for everyone.
Yeah.
Your personal situation, your goals, how much risk you're comfortable with,
Right.
how long you have until retirement,
Mhm.
all of that factors into whether a gold IRA is right for your investment plan.
That's a great question to consider. And like we've been saying throughout this whole deep dive,
Yeah.
you don't have to figure this out alone.
You don't.
Finding a financial advisor who really knows gold IRAs and estate planning
Right.
can make all the difference.
Couldn't agree more. Having that expert guidance can help you take advantage of the benefits
Yeah.
while navigating all the details of gold IRAs and the tax rules.
Absolutely. Well, I think this has been a fantastic exploration of gold IRAs. Hopefully our listener found it insightful and maybe even a little surprising.
I agree. It's been a pleasure, as always.
Yeah.
These financial topics are so important to understand, and I love unpacking them with you.
And to our listener, until next time, keep diving deep and keep learning.